You've reported on the risk that can happen in appointing too many inexperienced or sort of partisan brawlers to cabinet posts. My first question is simple. If Trump does get most of these people in, if there are fewer people to stand up patriotically to potentially illegal orders or radical ideas internally, then who do we look to be the guardrails in a second term?
Very important question. I remember interviewing Trump 8 years ago, long time ago, and asked him about power. And what Trump said was real power is, I don't even want to use the word, but real power is fear. That's one of Trump's techniques that he has always used, scaring people. And with these nominees who are clearly unqualified, I mean, it is a dimension of overreach and an effort to scare people, the system, not just Democrats, but Republicans, that is incredibly large. I don't think it will work, but presidents have extraordinary power, and he'll have it for 4 years, so we're going to have to wait. But overreaching, we see all the time in politics, and Trump is overreaching here in a very dramatic way, kind of, oh, yes, you know, I'm going to scare you. And I think lots of people are scared, but I think lots of people are just mobilized, not just Democrats, but some Republicans saying, wait a minute, this is a bridge, a nomination way too far.
Right. And what you're reminding everyone is that the coalitions, the intensity, the ardor are built on a range of different goals. Some people might enjoy the so-called show of Donald Trump. A lot of other people want results on the economy or immigration reform or other things. And that's hard to do if you're completely paralyzed and fixated on these cabinet issues. You say overreach. You may have seen this already. I want to play for the viewers, Bob, what Brit Hume, a longtime member of the media, Fox anchor, somewhat conservative, what he said on that point.
It's impressive, but whether it is a landslide producing a mandate is another matter. There's some counts now that say that, updated counts that say that he's slipped below 50% of the popular vote. So you have to be careful about these things. Mandates, real mandates are rare, and landslides are perhaps even rarer. The president would be wise to ignore the talk from his supporters about what an enormous mandate he has and what a great landslide he won.
That said,
because
Brit,
thinking that can lead to trouble.
Brit Hume putting it straightforward, and we'll put up the chart to remind folks, Trump improved his position this year, and it was a comeback by any stretch of the political term. And in that sense, it was striking to many. Was it a mandate? Well, it's smaller than most recent elections, smaller than Biden. Clinton, as of tonight, had a larger total vote mandate or margin than he does. So where does history fit into this for him and what he should do?
Well, these margins, you know, there are going to be debates and counts and recounts and rethinking. But the idea of putting people totally unqualified for important jobs, Justice Department, Defense Department, is the sort of self-destructive act, and it may not be intentional, but it's this Trump again who wants to frighten and scare people. That is a large pillar of his operational style. And too many Republicans are going to say, wait a minute, don't do this. Trump, what's he trying to do? I think in a way prove that he can be the imperial president. He's got all the power. He can do exactly what he wants. I think Republicans first, and a larger system in confirmation process in the Senate will say no. And it will, at some point, if this becomes a real clash, a very dramatic, no, you can't do this. You can't run government this way. You can't go when you've got to get your car fixed. You can't go to the grocery store for help. You have to go where it's needed and relevant. And that's, Republicans are saying this privately. I think they will say it out loud and very strongly. Don't defeat yourself in these initial moves.
In your previous book, which we've discussed on this program, Bob, you reported on and had many extensive conversations with Donald Trump during the pandemic. One of the things that came through was that at times he was more focused on what they call the narrative nowadays, what they used to call spin, than perhaps some of the fundamentals of what the government could do to address the crisis. Do you see any growth, learning, and change, or do you have the deeper concern looking at the initial cabinet appointments that he's not yet focused on picking the people who can actually do the work?
Well, I don't see growth. The last year 2020 of his first presidency, I did 9 hours of interviews with him. This was the year of COVID, and he wouldn't take the warnings that were handed to him on a silver platter and do the responsible thing to protect the citizens. And this was all taped with his permission. It's out there. People can listen to it or read it. And it is a moral felony what he did as president in not mobilizing to protect the people, doing something that in the discussions with him kept saying, what's the plan? What are you going to do? Oh, it's going to go away. Don't worry. Well, it didn't go away. 1.1 million people died in this country of the virus. He was warned early that year of 2020 when there was one case, and it would have been in his interest and the interest of the entire country to just do, let's have a plan, let's do something. Instead, he walked away from it. And that also is a pattern. And this idea of these nominees is truly, utterly off the charts. And what you wonder about is his wife, Melania, does he not have somebody in his inner circle who will just say, Mr. President-elect, or they still call him Mr. President, let's count to 10 on this, and let's have a strategy that has an end point that's success, rather than a kind of accentuating the divisions in this country. He's got an opportunity. A president-elect always has an opportunity. One of the things in writing about many, many presidents for 50 years is the goodwill of the public falls on the president-elect in a way that it's very important that the president-elect understand that goodwill, and it can be mobilized, can be used to help the president fulfill his goals. But if he's just going to throw sand in the eyes of his own party and rationality, he's going to defeat himself in a way. I mean, I look at some of these people who are being put up, and there are so many people, like the current defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, somebody who has had so much experience in combat, 1-star level, 2-star level, 3-star level, 4-star level, Secretary of Defense who has, by accounts of people down in the ranks, people in the Biden White House National Security Team, done a fabulous job. Well, I don't know whether he's a Republican or a Democrat, but somebody like that can be used to help any president.
The president-elect spoke out this week, about journalism. We just touched in the earlier segment how you've dealt with him, reported with him, but also ended up in lawsuits with him. We all know what he's like. He said he'll give a third chance, but not a fourth. He said he, quote, doesn't want to destroy people's lives in the press. And he's also publicly talked about retribution, as you saw just there, against people who've investigated him or his allies. How should journalists and the society that we are in approach this? How should we be fair, not baited into being positioned on a team or quote-unquote enemy of an administration when that's not what journalism is supposed to be, without also being asleep at the wheel when we have to cover what people say they're going to do? How do we do it?
We do it with the standard methods of very aggressive, fair-minded reporting. But there are so many things that are just hidden that don't come out. A couple of years ago, Putin was threatening in a very serious way to use a tactical nuclear weapon. How was this stopped? The Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, who has lots of experience, the White House, NSC, CIA, top intelligence person, was able to explain to President Biden, because Biden asked, who has influence with Putin? Turns out the person who has influence with potential influence with Putin is the Chinese President Xi.